Greetings and welcome to another Tomorrow's World Webcast. My name is Wallace Smith. It's wonderful to have you here. I absolutely have to talk about the case of County Clerk Kim Davis. Surely you've been keeping up in the news and you're aware of the circumstance. In fact, the news might be changing so fast by the time this airs, maybe things have changed. But at least at the time of this recording, Rowan County Clerk in Kentucky, Kim Davis, that's an elected position, a county clerk. She's been in charge of issuing marriage licenses for the county. Well, she has since been arrested and taken into the custody of U.S. Marshals because she refuses to issue marriage licenses because some of those marriage licenses might be to same-sex couples. And she says she has a personal, deep Christian conviction against recognizing same-sex marriages. Well, U.S. District Judge David Bunting didn't really agree with that reasoning, felt that really she absolutely needed to act on the court's order to continue doing her job. And because she refused to do so, he actually has her arrested. She is in custody. It's a remarkable circumstance going on in America, and people paint it in different ways. There are those that are clearly pro-same-sex marriage that want to paint her as, in a sense, a modern Alabama Governor George Wallace when he took his famous stand against certain civil rights decisions, legislations, and court orders about integration. And that she's just standing in the way of progress and love for mankind. On the other hand, there are those that want to paint her as the first Christian martyr, essentially, of this vast wave of persecution that'll be coming on the country, they claim, because of the recognition of same-sex marriage by the Supreme Court. Now, actually, I'm not going to talk about either of those two positions. I would like to do, actually, another webcast, and plan on doing one, probably the next one I do, about persecution of Christians and what this particular case might cause us to think about that. I'd like to ask another question. Can a sincere, faithful, Bible-believing Christian actually take an oath for public office like Mrs. Kim Davis has? Now, first let me address the principle of taking an oath, because a lot of Christians understand that Jesus Christ actually forbids us to take oaths. You can look in Matthew chapter 5, verses 33 to 37. In particular, I prefer James chapter 5, where I think James summarizes it very well in verse 12. He says, "But above all, my brethren, do not swear, either by heaven or by earth or with any other oath, but let your yes be yes and your no, no, lest you fall into judgment." So that said, I'm not trying to say we shouldn't take oaths and that's the end of it, because what about affirmations? What about just simply saying, yes, I agree to faithfully execute all the laws of this district, this state, this country? Are Christians really allowed to do that? It's a very important matter. In Numbers chapter 30 and verse 1, God says very clearly, verses 1 and 2, that God expects us to be faithful to our vows. That to actually make such a verbal commitment, God expects us to take that seriously. Jesus Christ's own words, and those reflected here in James, are telling us that if you're a Christian, you're held to the highest possible standard of truthfulness. That when you say yes, that has to be yes. When you say no, it has to be no. And you cannot speak carelessly. And so when it comes to actually making such statements of complete fidelity to a human secular state, whether it's the country we love or any other country, can Christians actually do that? When we know we're bound by the Apostle Peter's words in Acts, where he says that we should obey God rather than men whenever those laws are in conflict, can a Christian actually say, yes, I swear, I commit, I promise, whatever the case may be, to devote myself to faithfully executing all the laws of this state? I would dare say there's an inherent conflict there. Now, I know there are a lot of evangelical Christians out there and others that are good people that will look at Jesus Christ's words saying that we should be salt of the earth, that somehow we're a preservative agent of the world. And so that means we should seek to take public offices. We should seek to run municipalities and to serve in these offices. I would dare say they're looking at the wrong passage. I would consider the Apostle Paul's words in passages like 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 17, where he says, "Come out from among them and be separate." A Christian really needs to step back and think about whether he can ever truly, completely commit to 100% fidelity to any organization of men, when he should know he always has a higher authority to which he is accountable. I hope this has been a profitable webcast, and I hope you'll check out the rest at tomorrowsworld.org.